Hi, I'm Joellen, and I wanted to say thank you and congratulations on behalf of the Lebanon County Commission for Women on earning this wonderful, prestigious award about women promoting agriculture.
Thank you.
Why don't you start by telling us your full name and a little bit about your family?
My name is Sue Bowman, and my husband's name is Dennis Keith. I have two stepchildren. One brother who grew up on the farm with me, who lives actually in Panama for the last 50 years or so.
And what is his name?
His name is John Bowman.
Okay.
So I live in a farm, which I've lived on all my life. It's a 106-acre preserve farm just north of Cleona.
That's wonderful. And I wondered, how long has that farm been in your family?
It came into the family in the mid-1890s, so going on 125 years.
So it's a century farm.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, I also seem to remember that maybe there was a special event dealing with farm preservation that took place at your farm.
That's correct. Back in August of 2002, we became the 6,000th acre preserved in Lebanon County, and so there was a big celebration held at our farm. The Secretary of Agriculture, Sam Hayes, was there, and certainly many local dignitaries as well, perhaps including you.
That could very well be. And in addition, you have been named Landowner of the Year.
Right, that dates back to the Lebanon County Conservation District. Again, that might have been 2003, 2004 in that area, and it was a real pleasure and privilege to get that designation. We try to do our best on our farm to meet all the requirements.
Well, not only did you preserve your farm and get Landowner of the Year, but you gave back by serving on the Conservation District Board, didn't you?
That's true. I did serve on the Conservation District Board for perhaps 8 years, and I gained my interest in the Conservation District through both the Ag Preservation Program, which they administer, and also through the CREP program, which was a conservation program.
Okay. And CREP is about planting trees, is that correct?
Pretty much trees and shrubs, and also fencing out cattle, livestock from stream areas and water supplies.
Always on the conservation end, you're educating again. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now, you also have taken that love of farming and your knowledge of farming and your skills in English, so to speak, and you write for both Lancaster Farming, and your column is called Rural Ramblings. Is that correct?
That's true.
What's your favorite article you ever wrote?
Oh, wow, that's really hard. I enjoy doing the columns, which I do every week, and those are, I joke that they're sort of like the Jerry Seinfeld show. It's like columns about nothing, but they're hopefully things that people can identify with in their own lives and farming and country life. Oh gosh, my favorite column. I was going to say my favorite recent one actually had to do with a 100-year-old gentleman who had bought a tractor new, and how that tractor ended up in the hands of someone that lived close by to him, and how they were able to reconnect.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, are you going to do anything with this whole milk, the farms that are lost their contracts?
So I know that Lancaster Farming has been doing a lot of that from the hard news perspective. I've actually been thinking that I may want to do a Rural Ramblings regarding that. We were dairy farmers at one point in time when I was a child. My dad had Holsteins, but just a very small herd of 12 or 15 cows. And of course now things are on a much larger scale, and it's making it a really difficult time for many dairy farmers, even ones that have not been told that their milk won't be accepted. Other dairy farmers are also very worried about the future.
Yes, I understand. They always think, am I next? And everyone needs encouragement, and they need to know the community supports them and drinks their product, eats their cheese and
Sure.
butter and ice cream, etc. So thank you for continuing to raise awareness on behalf of all farmers. Now, there's something that goes on at our expo center, and the 4-H kind of takes over, and there's things like judging fair queens and chocolate cakes and brownies. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I'm very well familiar with those events in Lebanon County. and I think we do a great job there. More recently, I've become involved in judging, not in the home district, but in Elizabethtown Fair, where I've done judging of their Fair Queen contest for the last 3 years, as well as more recently their chocolate cakes and brownies. Because generally, it's a good idea, even though it's a blind taste test situation, and especially with the queen, so that you really don't know the people's background or who they're connected to. You're just making a very objective selection.
Very nice. Thank you for doing that. Now, you still have some cattle on your farm, but they're not dairy. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have a beef cattle herd.
And how many do you have?
We have probably. I'm doing the mental math.
I'm sure they multiply.
Yeah, they come and they go. As I say, I think we have about 12 cows. Or we have a breeding herd basically, and then we have a number of steers, as well as a good crew of calves this year. So it's probably in the neighborhood of 20 or so.
Wow, that's fantastic. And Pasture Pals Party? Help me with that one.
Well, as farmers, we need to maintain good relationships with our neighbors, not just to educate them, but just to help them understand our way of life, which sometimes might conflict with theirs a little bit in terms of smells or things or noises, things like that. We have a very large pasture, a very regularly shaped pasture. I think it's located, actually abuts like 3 different municipalities. So there are people that live around our pasture that may not even know each other. So once a year, usually the end of August, we invite everybody over, and they come over one afternoon, sit out in the patio, we have some food, and it's just been a really neat experience. In fact, they were afraid that we would stop doing it after the first year, so they said, hey, can't we make it a covered dish so it's not as much work for you? So it's been really good, and that we also have their contact information, and they have ours in case there would be any concerns or problems, so they can let us know.
Isn't that nice? All farmers should do that. Maybe they do. They're a very likable bunch. And then I also understand you volunteer your time with the Cleona Sewer Authority and Stormwater Management.
Right, that's correct. That was something that I began doing probably 7 or 8 years ago. And I was able to get my former boss, Brian Hoffman, involved in too. And in fact, he's now the chairman of the Cleona Sewer Authority. It's one of those jobs that nobody dreams of doing, but it still needs to get done. Yeah. And of course, we've taken on additional functions now with the MS4 stormwater management requirements. So it's something that's a very interesting sideline, shall we say.
Well, that is interesting. So you're a farm girl at heart, but you work at the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. How did that come about?
Oh gosh, I think I owe it all, or should blame it all, on the Hurricane Agnes flood in 1972. It was about the time, happened the year that I graduated from college, and I was in need of a job, and they were in need of a temporary person to serve as a flood counselor for people that had been affected by the flood, needed to apply for loans or needed special assistance. And so I went to work for them on a very temporary job, and it ended up lasting about 42 years.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. You've touched so many lives in your career, and we owe you a debt of gratitude. I'm so thankful that you were able to be honored today in the Hall of Fame. And I'd like to ask you for a closing remark, perhaps something you'd like to say to other women or the next generation of women coming up. What words of advice would you give them?
Wow, that's a tough one. I guess, always be willing to expand your boundaries. Where you start out may not at all be where you finish up. I was an elementary education major in college, but I never actually did that. I did other things with my life, and I was glad that I could not only have a career, but also be very active in farming and help tell the farming story to a wider audience.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much, Joelle.
You're welcome.